Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all of you, my dear lovely family, friends, fellow Africans, brothers and sisters, depends where you are. There's something that has sparking the social media concern about U.S. plan to bring Kenyans to South Africa to process Afrikaners, refugees. As you know, that United States of America has invited Afrikaners who America said they have been mistreated in South Africa. On July 29th, the Department of Home Affairs confirmed visa application from nearly 30 US-based staffers from Nairobi, whose mission is to process Afrikaners' resettlement cases. But this controversial program has raised two questions. Why are Afrikaners a minority with historical privilege being labeled as refugees? Why does the US prioritize their relocation while ignoring millions of struggling African refugees? Is this about humanitarianism or US geopolitical influence in Africa? South Africa has openly opposed this program, seeing it as manipulation and disrespect to African sovereignty. With cabinet hunger growing, the stage is set for a new diplomatic shutdown. So, families, friends, fellow Africans, join with me where we are going to have just a simple discussion on this matter. Welcome.
It raises uncomfortable questions about race, privilege, and geopolitics. Is this about humanitarian concern? Or about protecting a specific group with historic ties to the West? Let's zoom out. Why is the US so invested in this program? Analysts suggest three possible reasons. Keycap 1 political image, presenting America as a savior for Afrikaners reinforces a narrative that the US protects those aligned with Western heritage. Keycap 2 geopolitical strategy, South Africa is a BRICS member. The US may be using such programs to exert soft power influence. Keycap 3 distraction, while Africa struggles with resource exploitation, coups, and foreign bases, attention shifts toward a narrative of Afrikaner victimhood. This is not just about visas. It's about reshaping the political story in Africa. The South African presidency has made its stance crystal clear. It does not support this so-called refugee program. Officials see it as insulting, manipulative, and a diversion from Africa's real crises: poverty, inequality, and economic sovereignty. The irony is sharp. While millions of Africans struggle for visas to study, work, or seek safety abroad, a minority group with historic privilege is given a special fast-track system. South Africans are asking, whose interests are being served here? Certainly not the people of Africa. This is more than a visa issue. It is about sovereignty, dignity, and fairness. Africa must ask, why does the world cry for Afrikaner refugees, but remain silent on African refugees drowning in the Mediterranean, or trapped in camps across the continent? The story is not over. The cabinet's annoyance may soon transform into open resistance. And once again, Africa will have to decide, do we allow foreign powers to dictate our policies? Or do we stand firm and chart our own destiny? This is Make Africa Great. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because Africa's voice must be heard, loud and clear.
Yes, my dear brothers and sisters, I'm very sorry to those who didn't hear at the beginning. I think there's a challenge of voices. It's my hope that now you heard my voice and you heard what was spoken. But the main issue here is about what is happening right now in South Africa, where the United States of America trying to bring Kenyans to process visas for Afrikaners. If you heard my voices, please tell me, and I will correct if there's something that is not okay. You know that the U.S. State Department has asked the South African government to fast track visas for around 30 workers based in Kenya so that they can assist with processing the Afrikaners' visas. Department of Home Affairs confirmed to Daily Maverick um, about the requesting of visas to Kenyans workers who will go to South Africa to process visas for Afrikaners. As you know, my dear lovely families, US is trying to take some minority Afrikaners who are in South Africa by saying that they're being mistreated. There's white genocide in South Africa. So US is trying to take those white minorities to United States of America by claiming that there is white genocide in South Africa. So from there, we heard that some politicians, some leaders in United States in South Africa, sorry, were sanctioned by the United States of America by claiming that there is white genocide in South Africa. So the US is trying to normalize this thing and to make things that is true that what is happening in South Africa is white genocide. Due to that, the Department of Home Affairs confirmed to Daily Mavericks on last Wednesday that the visa application had been received on 29th July. The plan is to bring the Nairobi-based staffers to live and work in South Africa for around 2 years, after which is appeared the resettlement window for Afrikaners refugees in the United States of America may be closed. Government Communication and Information System spokesperson Mononde Mnukwa told Daily Maverick that the subject was not on the formal agenda of the cabinet, which met last week, and no written submission or was submitted for the cabinet discussion to this effect. Daily Maverick understand from impeccable sources, however, that the issue was verbally discussed at last cabinet meeting, and the sentiment was on the annoyance. So South Africa has rejected this issue of visas, and of course we know that US is trying to find a way to punish South Africa. I've been saying this many times that what US is trying to do is to find a way how US can punish South Africa. You know that right now, as I said, some politicians, leaders, and some companies has been sanctioned. But let us focus on the reality. Who is suffering between these minorities, white minorities, and black people in South Africa? If you look very keenly, you will understand that it's black people who are suffering in South Africa. They don't have the land. The land is still in the hands of white minority, and yet United States of America and European countries are saying that white minority are suffering. Right now, we have this xenophobic attack. You know that some Africans are being attacked because of a notion of thinking that they are going to South Africa to take their jobs. But all these things are because of black South Africans, they don't have the land, they cannot invest. So they see fellow Africans who are coming to South Africa as they're coming to compete with them to take their jobs. But I'm sure if South Africans, black people, South Africans have the land, have opportunities to own the land, they cannot fight fellow Africans. They cannot fight Nigerians. They cannot fight Zimbabwean because they have the land. They can invest in agriculture. They can invest in mining. But right now, all mines are in the hands of white minority. Why? Because they have the land. Land has everything. If you talk about the land, you talk about wealth. You cannot talk about wealth if you don't have the land. That's why we are saying we need the distribution of the land, taking the land without compensation from white minority to majority. The thing that white minority are not okay with that. They are not happy with black people to own the land. And if we go deep historically, this the land was owned by black people, was owned by Africans. When colonizers came to Africa, they found this fertile land, horrible land, owned by Africans. What they did is to chase away Africans. And some of them were killed, some of them were hanged, some of them were assassinated when they tried to refuse. And yet today, we are saying, let us share the land. But white um, minority are saying they're being mistreated. Wow, how? Is it true that white minority are being mistreated? To those who are in South Africa, please tell me about this. Is it true that white minority are being mistreated? I think this is not true. As I speak to you now, there's a land called, a place called Olania. If you can go to this social media, you can search Olania. Olania is the only place where white people are allowed to enter in South Africa. Black people like me are not allowed to enter. Just imagine, can Africans go to Europe, go to America, and say this is our land? No black, no white people are allowed to enter. And we do like that. But we Africans, we have allowed white Afrikaners to have their own land, to have their own country within your country. Just imagine. Go try to find Olania. Will you understand what I'm talking about? That black people are not allowed. In Olania, they have their own flags, they have their own currency, they have their own education systems, and they are not interfered by the government of South Africa. And yet they're saying they are being mistreated. How can we Africans go to Europe, take piece of land, create our own country, nation, having our own national own anthem, having our own talents, and say we are preserving our culture? Can we do like that? Can we do that in Kenya? I mean, in China, you can see. But in South Africa, white minority have given that privileges, but still they are saying they're being mistreated. They are calling Mr. Trump to help them. So have been saying that one day, if we are not careful, my dear lovely family, we are going to find a new country in South Africa. And if we are not careful, if black people are not coming together, we are going to find ourselves where we will have a country called Western Cape, whenever they find their name. These white people, you see, they have started to seek support from Trump, from European countries to create their own country. Of course, they have tried to pass memorandum to create their own country. They want their own country, independent country, where white people will own and have chosen those areas that are so potential, the area that is potential for agriculture, the area that has minerals. And that's why they are denying distribution of land to Africans. They don't want to share the land. And I was listening to what Malema has said in this issue, that what black people in South Africa and um Africans in South Africa asking, let us share the land. You find a single person own millions or thousands of acres, and yet majority black people has no land. But what our South Africa's government are asking, let us share the land. To those who don't have, let us also have a space to own the land so that they can conduct agriculture, they can do investment. But white minorities are saying, no, you are mistreating us, you are taking our land. So who is the rightful owner of the land? Can we go to Europe and say this is our land? No. All of us, we are familiar that those white South Africans came during colonialism. They took our land, they displaced our ancestors, and we, the grandchildren, what we are asking, we are not saying, you white South Africans go back to Europe because we know there's no space for them. We are saying, let us live in harmony. Let us live together. Let us share this wealth so that all of us, we can benefit from this land. But they are not okay. They are not happy. They want black people to continue to suffer, to continue to struggle. But we went into revolution because we want our land. That's why our founding fathers, our revolutionaries, our fighters went to struggle into the struggle to make sure that Africans, we are going to have the land. But all in all, whites are not ready to give us the land, are not ready to share the land with black people. I don't know why. And they know very well that they came with no land. They took it for free. They didn't pay to anyone, but they want to be compensated. How can we compensate to those who took our land without compensating our ancestors? If it's about compensation, why white people are not the first to be compensating our ancestors? I think if there was a justice, let us first, these white people, um, minority white people, compensate what they have done to our ancestors. You know what they're claiming right now? They're saying they have added value to our land. Which value you have added to our land? What what kind of value you are talking about? They say they have added value. Just imagine, that's why I was listening one day, Mr. Julius Malema, that you find someone stealing your cars and say have added new tire, have added maybe I washed your car. So, but you are still a thief. Even if you can wash, you can change tires, you are still a thief. They cannot tell us that they have developed the land. They need to be compensated. So they're trying to use these powerful nations like US, like European countries, to undermine our process of taking back the land. But all in all, dear lovely families, friends, fellow Africans, this is I think this is a high time for Africans, especially black people in South Africa, to come together. One thing that I saw in South Africa, there's a big division among black people. I saw people in ANC. I saw people in MK, Mkonwaswize. Also, I saw people in economic freedom fighters. These people are not speaking with one voice. If they want to achieve this issue, they have to come together. You see, white minority, they have formed something called DA, Democratic Alliance. They're so united. But you find the black people, a lot of political parties, they are starting and creating new political parties every time. They have divided. And that's why they have been defeated by this white minority. And if EFF under Julius Malema, MK Party and former president of um, South Africa, Mr. Jacob Zuma, and the ANC under the leadership of Ramaphosa. Of course, I know some Africans are not trusting Mr. Ramaphosa. And I saw the president of former deputy president of South Africa of EFF, Mr. Shivambu, created a new um, political party. I think, if I'm not wrong, I saw something like that. But if these leaders can come together and say, we want to achieve land issue. Yes, we have differences. We want to become president. We want to become leaders. How is it possible that Shivambu can become a president at the same time Malema can become a president at the same time Jacob Zuma can become a president? These leaders of African freedom fighters and Africans political parties, they have to come together. They cannot defeat white minority if they're so divided. And this is the problem of we black people. We are so divided so much. After every election, you find new political parties in South Africa. And while they know that all of them are talking about bringing back the land, if all of them they have the same mission, why don't they come together? Why don't they come together? So, dear lovely family, let us not speak for too long. To those who have missed at the beginning, this is what we have discussed, and this is the script that we have played at the beginning. Listen again, then I will come up to conclude this session to you. Welcome and
Breaking news. The United States government is pushing South Africa into a controversial deal. The U.S. State Department has requested Pretoria to fast-track visas for nearly 30 workers from Kenya, not for ordinary projects, but to process Afrikaner refugees. Behind closed doors, this has sparked frustration in South Africa's cabinet. What is really happening? Why are Afrikaners suddenly being labeled as refugees, and why is the U.S. so determined to intervene? On July 29, South Africa's Department of Home Affairs quietly received visa applications. These were not from desperate migrants, but from US-backed staffers based in Nairobi. Their mission? To move to South Africa for 2 years and process applications of Afrikaners who seek resettlement in the United States. But here's the catch: insiders say that once this 2-year window closes, the opportunity for these Afrikaners to resettle in America may disappear. It is a race against time. And South Africa is being used as the processing hub. Government insiders told Daily Maverick that this issue was verbally discussed during the last cabinet meeting. The mood? Annoyance. Officially, the government claims it's not on the formal agenda. No written submission has been tabled. But behind the scenes, ministers are angry. They see this as Washington imposing its will, dragging South Africa into a program that Pretoria has never approved of. The sentiment is clear: why should South Africa carry America's burden? This is where the controversy deepens. Afrikaners are a white minority group in South Africa. Historically, they were the architects of apartheid. Today, some claim they face discrimination and violence. The U.S. framing them as refugees has sparked outrage. Many South Africans ask, how can the descendants of colonizers suddenly be called refugees, when millions of Africans are displaced across the continent with little international attention? It raises uncomfortable questions about race, privilege, and geopolitics. Is this about humanitarian concern? or about protecting a specific group with historic ties to the West? Let's zoom out. Why is the US so invested in this program? Analysts suggest three possible reasons. Keycap 1 political image, presenting America as a savior for Afrikaners reinforces a narrative that the US protects those aligned with Western heritage. Keycap 2 geopolitical strategy, South Africa is a BRICS member. The US may be using such programs to exert soft power influence. Keycap 3 distraction, while Africa struggles with resource exploitation, coups, and foreign bases, attention shifts toward a narrative of Afrikaner victimhood. This is not just about visas. It's about reshaping the political story in Africa. The South African presidency has made its stance crystal clear. It does not support this so-called refugee program. Officials see it as insulting, manipulative, and a diversion from Africa's real crises: poverty, inequality, and economic sovereignty. The irony is sharp. While millions of Africans struggle for visas to study, work, or seek safety abroad, a minority group with historic privilege is given a special fast-track system. South Africans are asking, whose interests are being served here? Certainly not the people of Africa. This is more than a visa issue. It is about sovereignty, dignity, and fairness. Africa must ask, why does the world cry for Afrikaner refugees, but remain silent on African refugees drowning in the Mediterranean, or trapped in camps across the continent? The story is not over. The cabinet's annoyance may soon transform into open resistance. And once again, Africa will have to decide, do we allow foreign powers to dictate our policies? Or do we stand firm and chart our own destiny? This is Make Africa Great. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because Africa's voice must be heard, loud and clear. Breaking news. The United States government is pushing
Yes, I hope that you heard. That's what you have shared at the beginning about uh, US plan to send workers from Kenya to bring Kenyans to South Africa to process Afrikaners visas. Of course, on the comment, I saw my friends asking that maybe South Africa has to fall Captain Ibrahim Traore. What we have right now in the continent of Africa, uh, many political leaders don't like to follow what Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing because they fear that if they can follow what Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing, it means they are legitimizing military taking over. So they fear to support Captain Ibrahim Traore because what they have done in their countries, it's not okay. So they fear that if they can support Traore, it means they are welcoming military leaders to take over. That's why they fear. And you saw when US General Lang, if you remember, almost 3 months ago, when General Lang, the US command in the Africa, in Africa, said that Captain Ibrahim Traore is using gold reserve to protect himself, something like that. And we see some coup attempt against Captain Ibrahim Traore. No African leaders, political, who stood up to say, we are standing with Captain Ibrahim Traore. It doesn't mean they see what Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing. No, they fear to join Captain because they are calling themselves democratic. So they don't want to legitimize revolutions. Because what happened to Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, these political leaders are calling it unconstitutional changes. That's what they're calling. And sometimes, and others are calling these military coup. And they're trying to use Western names. You find that they say junta, juntas leaders. What's the meaning of junta? So instead of calling Captain Ibrahim Traore revolutionary leaders, brave African leaders who resisted colonialism, they're saying these are coup leaders. What does that mean? What happened in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? It's not about coup, it's about revolutions. But Political figures, political leaders are not accepting what happened to Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso as revolutions. They're still using Western terms, juntas, coup leaders, and coup d'etat. That's what they're referring. But we Africans, young people, many of us, we are saying what happened in Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso is revolution. That's why we are supporting those leaders. But if you come to our political leaders, they try to sugarcoat things. And that's why today you see that in South Africa, we are still suffering with the issue of the land. So, families, I'm trying to elaborate to those who have, to my friend who have asked me about let us fall Captain Ibrahim Traore. They cannot fall Captain Ibrahim Traore because they fear. And these many of African that they call themselves democratic countries are being sponsored by Western power. We are beneficiaries of grants. We are beneficiaries of those who call themselves economic partners. They provide money. They give us money. So we don't like to lose. And that's why you see when Trump came with the idea of cutting USA, you saw many African leaders looks like disappointed. But I think Trump was right. How can Africa depend on aid or USAID and these grant for all time? The time will come when these leaders of West will tired to support Africans, to give Africans free money. And what sometimes making many Africans angry, this money, when they come to Africa, others are shifting this money to hide in some islands in Western countries. So you have given grant and favor. Sometimes you get this hate, but political figures and those government officials stealing this man, the same man, and take back to Western banks. So instead of investing to Africans, what they do is to take those money back to Western banks by stealing from Africans. And that's why I think American government under the leadership of Mr. Trump have decided to cut aid because they saw that these money are going in the pockets of many politicians and they're stealing from their people instead of doing what they are supposed to do. So families, brothers and sisters, I think that was what happened in South Africa. This is what I wish to share with you at this moment. If you're new to this platform, make sure that you subscribe to join this big family of Make Africa Great. And if you've already subscribed, please make sure that you share this video to other Africans and also you like the video. After that, I have no more to share. Let me say thank you. Have a nice time. See you next time in other video. Let me salute in the name of Pan-Africanism. We are here to make Africa great. We are here to join our forces, to join our hands, to see how we can build a better Africa and Africa that all of us we want. Thank you for watching. We are not here to insult anyone. We are not here to contradict anyone. We are here as Africans to share our thoughts, to find the best solutions for our challenges. To those who are talking about silence the gun, we have responsibilities to silence the gun because without peace, without security in this continent, we are going nowhere. All things that we are dreaming about depends on peace and security. Let us, all of us, the people of Africa, preach peace, love, and unity. Our unity is very important to succeed as Africans. Thank you. Have a nice time.